Dennis Law, followed by Dennis Delzak.
Yes, my name's Dennis Law. I'm with the firm Von Morrison Buttery, and I'm here tonight as John Wallace and Wallace Group's legal representative. But before making my comments, I also want to say on a personal level that I've known John Wallace for 25 years, been highly involved with him in both professional activities and social activities, and bar none, find him to be one of the most honest, dedicated individuals, and I'm very, very proud to be his representative. With that, I want to point out the problem that I have with the report in question. It has to do with the allegations regarding the RV dump station. First off, this report was received by you, acted by you in terms of the reference to authorities without ever receiving any of the exhibits. The exhibits came later. You could not know whether the report had any foundation or not because you didn't have the 48 exhibits that went along with it. I think that standing alone is a serious shortcoming of the process. Moreover, the report expressly states that no questions were posed to Mr. Wallace regarding the subject of the RV dump station. I can tell you I sat through the interview. No questions were asked of him. That topic was a complete blindside, completely unknown to us until the report was finally published. Moreover, there was no effort made to speak to any of the other employees. Now, there was a request. First off, let me say, Mr. Wallace offered any employee up that they wanted to speak to. Also offered to bring any documents they wanted brought to the interview. There was no request for documents that pertained to this issue whatsoever. And the only two employees that were identified as someone to speak to, one, they asked questions via email, and none of the questions had anything to do with the topic at hand. The other employee asked that John Wallace be present at the time she was being interviewed, and the investigator said no and chose not to interview her. He had intentionally, apparently, sought to rely solely on the people who he has reported in his report and made no effort to get Wallace Group's side of the story. I find that that is a report that has conclusions you cannot rely on, should not be relying on. You have made a reference to law enforcement. That has appeared in the newspaper. There is harm happening today, now, immediately, to him and his business. So what I feel needs to happen, you need to rescind the decision regarding the reference to law enforcement. If there was a technical approval of the report as a part of your action, you need to rescind it. And Mr. Wallace would be very happy to make himself, his employees, and any documents available to look at the issue in the way that you want to have it looked at. And we will cooperate with you 100% in that process. We feel that he deserves a fair shake on this, and there should be a fair investigation of those issues. I can go and tell you from just some of the documents that are in the exhibits. If you look at Exhibit 45, for example, completely belies the impression left by the investigator that there were permits being withheld from state parks and Yo Banana Boy for ulterior purposes. What it reveals and what you will find with a more complete investigation is that through the enforcement powers of the pretreatment ordinance, the Wallace Group and staff members of the district both were attempting to get their arms around the problem with RV dumping because it posed a unique problem. First off, if as in the case with Yo Banana Boy, he was dumping very close to the plant, large volumes of very intense waste at very short periods of time, called a slug, and it really wreaked havoc with your plant. Then there were other dump stations, not just at state parks, but in other locations within the district. And they were trying to get their arms around how to permit them, what costs were to be recovered, and how it was going to be done. And there were studies being done, and it took a long period of time. That's the context in which the events took place that are the subject of the investigator's report, and you get no hint of that from the report itself. But if you can at least get a hint of it if you look at Exhibit 45.
Thank you, Mr. Law.
Thank you.
Can you wrap up? Are you good?
I am.
Great, thank you.